Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 102 of Dissonant Waves. If I can say episode 102, that'd be great. My name is Dominic. Ritz and Tricks are here as always.
Hello.
Hello.
We got 3 albums to talk about. It's a regular episode. They are 2022 albums, I will say. Other than that, though, we got Porridge Radio's Waterslide, Diving Board, Ladder to the Sky, Precocious Neophyte, aka Sungja. We got Home in the Desert from her. And we got Motionless in White, Scoring the End of the World. That was my pick. Tricks picked Precocious Neophyte.
Yep.
And I picked Porridge Radio.
Yes. I thought everyone thought that was
Indeed.
obvious.
No.
Yes.
It was very unobvious, actually. Everyone was wondering, who picked the last one?
Of the 3 people, we know who 2 of them picked. Okay, yes. You were not going with regular indie Ritz. This is completely unheard of for you. Ritz did pick Porridge Radio, for the record. Everyone needs to know.
Yeah. Damn straight.
Yep.
Absolutely. So,
well, which one do we want to start off with?
Anyone want to spin a wheel and tell me?
Well, I already spent all my money watching my girlfriend beat up someone.
I'll open up one of those wheel spin.
Yeah, I'm not doing any more gambling.
Yeah, 3 albums. I could talk about any of them. They don't really have a specific reference this episode. Tricks, spin that wheel.
Hold up. I gotta put in the fucking shit.
Just do like 1, 2, 3. One is Porridge Radio because I said first. 2 is
Neophyte.
Precocious. Yeah.
I have P for Porridge Radio, M for Motionless in White, and H for the Neophyte.
Yeah, cool.
Sure.
Or
yeah, I think we'll get it from there. Just go. Spin the wheel.
M. Motionless in White.
Beautiful.
Scoring the End of the World. Motionless in White is a metal band from Scranton, Pennsylvania, the home of Joe Biden.
The Office.
Yeah. And this is their latest album about the end of the world and the apocalypse and
It's
how
not
bad America
good.
is.
I just want to say before we go into any of this, I need to just highlight this beautiful lyric again from the album. I forgot what song it's from. Please keep your hopes and dreams inside the vehicle at all times. Free will is no longer permitted on this ride. Here we go. Oh, 1, 2, fuck you. Now, when I heard those lyrics, I immediately just fell to my knees and went, "Oh my god, this is the peak. This is the peak. We are generally just not going to get anything more pretentiously bad than that."
That's from Meltdown, I believe.
There was one that rivaled it, if you ask me. And that was, "You can't spell the virus without us."
Yeah, it's
I'll take that one. That one's okay. That one's cheesy but fun.
That one feels like a 15-year-old that just discovered the voluntary human extinction movement, and
compared to the other one though.
Yeah, that was the first lyric where I'm like, fuck this album.
Yeah.
So to be clear, number one, I chose a couple artists in the beginning of the year, thinking, oh, I've never really heard them before. I want to try covering different artists. This is one of them. I knew they were having an album. I was like, let's give it a shot. I also just wanted to cover more mainstream metal because we don't really do that. So I thought this would be a fun opportunity to do that.
And now you realize why we don't cover mainstream metal, because it sucks ass.
I don't think this is the worst thing in the world. I really don't.
We haven't had a good metal album that's hit the mainstream since System of a Down.
I think there are a lot of cheesy moments on here, but I do like some of these songs.
This is actually just one of the worst albums I've heard this year. I want to be nice to this album when I can, but it's overproduced, so everything that it could sound like metal needs to sound a lot more raw than it actually is, especially when it's pretty high produced like this, because one of the big things about metal is the angst, the angriness of it. If it sounds clean, it doesn't sound legitimate, and this sounds way too clean to actually be a good metal album. I know it's supposed to be having some electronic influence and stuff as well, and actually the main point that I got out of listening to this album is, holy fuck, Bring Me the Horizon are a step above everyone else trying to do the fucking sound that they're doing. Because at least with Bring Me the Horizon, even when they get to that pretentious, everyone's controlling us type of stuff, the music sounds a lot more legitimate, it sounds a lot more angrier, and it sounds a lot different, and it's straight up actually fucking rock. This is just a cringe, this is hard to get. I started it the first time, and after song 2, I just went, fuck it. I'm just gonna listen to something else. We'll get back to this later. And I caught the flu, and I could not listen to this, and I had to wait until I was better. Then I finally listened to this in full, and I have no reason to ever go back to this.
Okay.
I would just like to make a point about the metal sounds better when it's raw. It absolutely, think about like Metallica and how once they were no longer hungry, their albums just started sucking ass.
Mm. That is a good point as well.
Like anything before Black Album is really good, but Black Album on is just ugh.
And it's weird. Just I'll get to you in a second, Dominic. It's just weird when it is so cleanly produced as well. Like whoever's actually done the production has done a fine job on it, because it sounds clear. It's obviously quite a high budget on it, but it doesn't mean it fits. And hell, you can even go and do a higher budget and still make it sound a little like it just sounds too glossy. It sounds too poppy. It sounds too like made in a focus group.
This is music for theater kids.
This is produced by one of the producers, is Drew Folk, otherwise known as Wizard Build or Wizard Bald or something like that. WZRDBLD. Produces a lot of stuff like this. Ice Nine Kills, A Day to Remember, Little Peep, Little Wayne, Little Xan. So, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I guess it fits.
Well, I've listened to A Day to Remember, even some of the newer stuff. Granted, like, their better stuff was their earlier stuff as well, but to be that guy. But even that sounds a little less clean, and more like legit. It's weird to use the word legitimate. I'm not trying to call anyone a poser or anything on here. It's just how it sounds very kind of like made up in a focus. And very much like
he did not produce the Day to Remember album. You're welcome. He just wrote the song Bloodsucker.
Okay. That's a little bit more sense. Granted, I don't think I've actually listened to You're Welcome full, so I don't know if I can actually give a full comment on that.
But that's one of the producers. Either way, I guess maybe I don't really listen to a lot of mainstream metal, so this is maybe just something I'm just not as used to, so it's a more of a novelty thing. Because I don't know, like I didn't hate it. Like stuff like Slaughterhouse seemed to have a political message I could get behind.
This was like the best song off of this, and that's not saying much.
The problem with like going into a political message you can get behind is that realistically, what risks are actually taken in any of their messaging here?
Yeah.
What's against the grain? Like, yeah, metal's always had this bit of a it's a bunch of conservative dad rock or something. Who love that, or the people who say left, right, I just want to grill kind of shit.
Yeah.
But realistically, it's all metals, especially mainstream metal, has always been fuck the system, or going like I hate the system, which is actually very generic politics side for what it takes, because it's very easy to say that it's either the left or the right that are on this
sure.
The ones doing it, or even like, both of them are bad and stuff. So it's actually a very generic message to put out there and go like, yeah, I agree with that. And a lot of this album is just fuck the system, and there's not really that much that's saying why the system is bad or putting in anything in there that I didn't already fucking agree with. So it's like, yeah, you agree politically with this because it's fucking made for you to agree politically.
That's very fair. Like I'm looking at the lyrics for Slaughterhouse, for example. It's not saying anything specific, It's like you sit back as we collapse, packaged up and sold for scraps. When you auction off our backs to pay the tax, eye for an eye, victims of your invention. All we've got are cruel intentions. And it's like, yeah, the rhymes are there, but it's not really specifically targeting a side.
And like we go back to when I was saying the last good mainstream metal album with Toxicity, and politically there's stuff that we disagree with on there, because it's at least a bit of a challenge and stuff. But they put it out in a way, and they are in there putting out like a fresh take on politics there in cases. Like obviously we don't agree with how like we're saying that science is completely ruining the environment, which there's a 50-50 take on that, and obviously trying to die on the heel of Charles Manson is not always the greatest way to go on, but they at least bring their stuff on a fresh take, which a lot of mainstream metal just doesn't do. I mean, Bring Me Horizon's even somewhat guilty of it when they do it. I still think like they at least actually at least present a lot of this better. Like in Parasite Eve, they at least kind of have a whole like, hey, this isn't a whole fuck the system because they're controlling us. This is a fuck the system because they're genuinely just fucking incompetent and kind of message. And that's a lot more different in comparing what everyone else is fucking saying.
That's fair.
I have two things I want to say. One of them I'm legally obligated to mention, and that is that I think that Shaky Graves' political songs do a better job of getting past the through the message than anything off this album.
I agree.
And the other thing I wanted to mention is fuck, I forget already. Come back to me.
Let me go to some of the lyrics and see if there's anything that's like specific or redeeming. I'm really curious now.
It's like if the instrumentation was better on it, like or at least like not something like I've heard it a lot before. It sounds also somewhat like it was trying to. It somewhat feels like it was trying to be its own hybrid theory, but people forget just exactly how. I mean, Hybrid Theory was a pretty groundbreaking album for new metal or the mainstream metal that came out there.
I would say there's definitely influence of like Linkin Park, My Chemical Romance, even like it's new metal, even.
But I would just go back to Hybrid. I don't think Hybrid Theory is even that good of an album. I think it's got a lot of flaws, but it's at least a lot better and not so focus groupy than this shit is. I will fucking listen to Crawling like on an endless loop rather than to listen to this album.
Skin.
These wounds I will not heal.
Not heal.
I don't know. It's hard. Like I've only really listened to this in full once, and that's just enough for me to just hate it. I did not enjoy this album at all.
Yeah,
that's a strong word.
Lyrically content with metal, you have to do a lot to get like into the counterculture kind of, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's why I think doom metal is like so good at that, because it's far enough into it's like focuses on like the occult and that sort of like outsider culture as opposed to just like whatever politically.
Yeah, I'm like looking here. I'm looking at Red, White, and Boom, for example, which is meant to be more of a political song. Clearly,
I think that's the one where the lyrics came from. Actually, the one I was talking about. The please keep your hopes and dreams inside the vehicle.
I think that's Meltdown, but it might. No, it is. No, it is Red, White, and Boom. Yes.
Yeah. I didn't think it was the starting song. Meltdown was I just knew I wasn't gonna like the album from that.
Yeah, cold and isolated, force-fed, violated, divided states of hope and hatred. So run for your life or detonate it. Go fuck the algorithm. I won't bow down to a broken system. Yeah, I mean,
fuck YouTube, man. Fuck YouTube. It's fucking algorithm, man. Keeps sending me the same fucking 10-second clip that I keep watching. I have to keep watching that white girl put on some random fucking French that makes no sense and saying we beget. And I know I'm only watching it for one goddamn reason, and I keep watching it. Fuck YouTube, man.
I'm genuinely surprised this is going this way, but I do see what you mean. Like I don't know. I did not think this was that bad, but when you talk about it in this way, it does seem worse than it was. I was coming in here being like, a song like Werewolf is kind of cheesy and stupid. I don't know why it's there even. Like, yeah, they're trying to go for like a more synth direction, but it just doesn't seem to fit everything else. And you're just like, I fucking hate this thing. They're fucking posers. They have too clean of a sound. I'm like, God damn.
My mom didn't let me go to the party.
2 weeks. Me, at least, the kind of metal snob of the podcast.
Yeah. 2 weeks away really sharpens the mind on what on the criticism stuff.
Yeah.
Well, someone said, "Oh, Mick Gordon's on this album. That's gonna be good."
I was actually I had a bit of hope because there was a Knocked Loose collaboration on here, and I was like, I don't really like Knocked Loose. Like I think they're fine, but I'm just not into them. But I think that would be the best part of it, and that was still not even good.
Mm-hmm.
Or what?
So
yeah. What drives someone to have a nickname like Motionless? Chris Motionless. Why?
Don't know. I don't want to know.
His name was Motionless, and then there was the guy Kyle White, who was the bassist early on. So there's Motionless in White for you.
He just lays there during sex.
Yeah. I just have nothing else to say. I'm just kind of like, I just got fucking reamed, I feel like.
Straight.
I have one more thing to add, and that is, Domino, if you ever decide to do something labeled gothic metal, look yourself in the mirror and just do a typo negative album.
Oh, I know gothic metal that is better than this. Please trust me.
Okay.
I have an album I've been meaning to pick that you would like that is gothic metal through and through.
All right.
So, yes, I guess I should apologize for picking this. Is this
Yep,
the worst thing I
that's
picked?
right.
Is this the worst thing I picked this year?
I don't know. I haven't compared it with everything this year, but
Let me ask a couple questions then. So
it's not the best.
Is this better or worse than the Alice Glass album?
Worse.
Worse.
Is this better or worse than the Foxy Shazam album?
Oh, that's a tough one.
I forget if I liked Foxy Shazam.
No one liked Foxy Shazam.
Yeah.
Probably about the same.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think they're both up there.
I disagree. I think it's all right in the end, but I don't really have a dog in this race because ultimately, I don't care. I don't have much to say.
If there's any artist that you will die on a hill for, it would not be Motionless.
Yeah.
Well, isn't there a saying that no one's favorite band is the Fleet Foxes?
Yeah, that's what Ritz says, and it's wrong because my father's favorite band is the Fleet Foxes.
See, the thing is that I can't even remember saying that, but I know 100% I did.
All right.
I don't even hate Fleet Foxes. I like them.
Other than that, though,
Anyway,
my favorite song on here, I guess, would be I like Slaughterhouse. I think Meltdown was all right, and Sign of Life was at least an all right mainstream song. I don't know. CyberX did some cool stuff. I thought my least favorite song is probably Werewolf for Masterpiece.
this album doesn't deserve a favorite, just full stop. But it does get a least favorite with Red, Red, and Boom because I have to say it one more time. The least favorite is still fucking Red, Red, and Boom. Surely only because of the please keep your hopes and dreams inside the vehicle at all times verse. I'm sorry, but what the fuck were they thinking?
A little aside before I do favorites and least favorites, I searched the Discord seeing who came up with the quote, everybody likes Fleet Foxes, but it's nobody's favorite band. And it turns out that I'm the one that penned that.
I've been blamed for something that 100% for what I actually did say. It sounds like something that I would say.
That's why I didn't attribute it to anyone, because I didn't know. I didn't want to check.
Yeah, favorite it's, and this is using the word favorite very liberally. Slaughterhouse, and least favorite is just kind of the rest of the album.
Fuck. All right. Usually I kind of know when I pick a dud, but I'm genuinely surprised how bad this went.
To be fair, you're used to it by now.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, the disappointment in your side.
I'm just gonna pick one at random for us to cover next. We're gonna pick Precocious Neophyte. Let's go.
Yeah,
right.
I just want to say we love you, Dominic, but we just don't love the album.
That's understandable. I understand. It's okay. I'm just like, okay, but
Precocious Neophyte, you want to introduce this one, Trix?
Stumbled to this one on Twitter via that guy that does weekly album releases, and I saw this, listened to one song, like, we got to cover that, and it's basically the Chicagoland version of Paranol.
Well, I was actually going to say, hey, Mum, can we have Paranol? No, we have Paranol at home.
Yeah.
It's fine, this album.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's kind of a lot of potential for this artist to evolve in it, but it's just not quite there yet.
Yeah, this is an artist to tuck in your back pocket and wait for their next release.
So, like, I understand the connections to Paranol that we can, like, we can say about them, like, the Korean thing, they're in Chicago, which is kind of fun. That's not really related to Paranol, but that's just a fun little addition to that. But aside from it being shoegaze, I do not see this necessarily in the same league as Paranol yet.
Yeah.
When I listened to this album the first time, I was bored by it. I did not have anything to say at all. And then I gave it some more time. And I'm like, you know what? This is not bad. This is just kind of background music. This is like the Japanese wallpaper of this year.
Yeah.
I do want to say one thing that really surprised me about this album, and I don't know if, like, it's not in like a whole like, oh, I love it or kind of thing. It's actually it's an interesting moment on this album but why the fuck is it there? And it's Korean Lesson 7 at Home, Where is Michael? And that song sounds almost kind of like the Jungle Giants. I think it's In the Garage. Or sounds
Yeah,
like
I can kind
the
of
song
see
title.
that. From
Yeah, it's In the
Blinded.
Garage. Just making sure I didn't fuck it up with a Weezer title. Yeah, and it's interesting, and I think they sound. Yeah, I think they're trying to do the sound quite like well. I think they can actually work with it, but it really does not fit on this album.
I think my problem is that
Yeah.
there's just not enough. There's not enough dynamics in this.
Mm.
There's a sound that is picked, and it generally sticks to that. And a lot of the accompaniment is similarly kind of lackadaisical, not lazy necessarily, but it just sounds very casual, very like floaty, and it's nothing like a Grief Eater. It's not like a Paranol. I guess Grief Eater is the other connection in Chicago, so it's those two combined, except very much not. There's just nothing here that's like giving me any emotion. There's nothing here that's making me care about these songs. They're nice songs. This is like excellent peak like summer evening at a 7-Eleven vibe. It's just playing in the stereo in the store. You're there with your friends and you just like walked there like a mile to get there and you're gonna walk like a mile back. It's very cozy in that way.
A big fucking Slurpee and a pound of candy in your backpack.
Yeah,
I totally see that.
It's very cozy. I think a song like "I Was" a really great example. It's like it's not a bad song at all. I like it. I just don't have like this is an album that I will listen to again just because it's a nice sound. It's pleasant. I like listening to it. I will listen to it more than Motionless in White or Porridge Radio for that matter. But it's not an album that I love.
Yeah,
it's I'm trying. I want to say more about this album, but it's hard to because there's only so much to it. Like it's a pretty short album considerably. It's 8 songs. I think it's like 40 minutes or something.
Something like that, yeah.
And only one of the songs like goes for more than 5 minutes. Everything else is like around 4.5, which isn't short by any means or anything here. But it's the difference between this and Paranol is that Paranol was definitely putting in a lot more elements of one emo. It was one of the big things of it, but also a lot more post-rock, which is one of the big things about this. And Paranol was like, we're making comparisons, obviously, and you should never really only compare an artist to one thing, but obviously this is a very similar kind of situation. So
we're comparing 2022 shoegaze to each other, yeah.
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 And with the Paranol ones, what was beautiful about those songs in there is that a lot of them actually had quite a lot of time and to evolve properly. It just allowed itself to take its time, and then it built up to some pretty satisfying payoffs, like White Ceiling. That whole fucking outro is still so fucking good.
God.
And in here, it's just like the moments are kind of just repetitive, and there's not really much in it. It's trying. It's not so much trying to make an album as it is trying to make a bunch of songs, seeing what works. Potentially, maybe even trying to make a shoegaze hit or something like that. Not that there's anything wrong with this. Granted, the chance of that were always going to be small and stuff. So I feel like there is a lot more room that this artist has to work with than they've actually given. And if they allowed the songs to breathe a lot more here and actually have quite a lot more happen in them, we could potentially see some more interesting moments come from this album. But instead, it's kind of like a song. A song is kind of like already done after the first 2 minutes in each one of them, and
that's my problem, is that there's nothing more to it than that.
Yeah,
it's very shallow.
And I still come out of this liking the album. Just I don't think I'll have any reason to go back to this when we have other artists that are doing it better at the moment. Granted, yeah, you're absolutely right, Trix. This is one to keep in your back pocket because I can see that there's some great production on here. They know exactly what the songs are supposed to sound like.
Yeah.
But they just need to, and hell, they don't even need to put any elements of post-rock or anything like this and turn them into a big kind of immersive cinematic experience. But they do just need to. It's not like a house album or anything where this is people are going to be clubbing to this. This isn't going to be people listening to the same shoegaze riff on repeat. Weather Day put out a shoegaze EP this year earlier under the Five Pebbles artist
Moniker.
name. We'll just say that. Monica, thank you. And that one had the same problem in which it was very like I don't mind repetitive riffs or anything like that or keeping that thing, especially when Paranol was had quite a bit of that in it. But the songs were pretty much over after the first minute, and then they just went for a lot more. And that was my problem with that as well. And Weather Days actually got a lot more production and credibility, I guess is a big word, or popularity than artists like Precocious Neophyte. So it's not like this is only a thing that comes with less experience. There are some artists just putting out music like that, and I just kind of get a bit bored of it after the first couple minutes, and I don't hate it, but I just like I'd rather just go on to.
As someone who loves microphones in 2020, I could tell you all about repetitious riffs and just songs that go on and on and on and on. But I think the difference again there even is that Phil Overham knows how to evolve a song. And that's kind of the thing. Like if you're doing the repetitive riffs, there has to be some kind of element to it that engages you, whether that's building attention or creating some kind of interesting dynamic that is going to pay off or be something. Like, sure, you don't have to do that necessarily. You can just do this and have just like these songs that are kind of like tone pieces or just like statements without much to say, just like declarative single sentence things. But the reaction is just going to be what we're doing. Like it's fine. I kind of like it. It's nice, but there's no deep discussion to be had. Like we've drawn this out for about 10-ish minutes or so now, and it's like I don't know what else we can really say. I don't think this is quite living up to the manifesto that was posted on the Bandcamp. I will say that.
Yeah, I full agree.
Like
if this is a case of like I've dropped everything to start a music career, it's kind of just like, well, you should just pick stuff back up. You're not gonna completely blow out and live off this. It's gonna be a while. And I mean, even artists like it was a big thing with Tiny Little Houses when they did a like a version a couple of years back. They were talking about how like this is all just pretty much a second job to them because it just doesn't fit. And artists like Tiny Little Houses is way more popular than this. So I kind of hope I kind of hope there's a bit of reality that kind of just snaps back in.
Yeah, and it's like they might have done some stuff before in some other bands. It seems like they might have. But like if you look up the artists, like what you're gonna find is just like posts on Reddit. Just like asking questions to the music community like, hey, I'm getting offered a contract. What do I do? Hey, this song got picked up by a DJ who likes it. You know, there doesn't seem to be much in the way of like confidence or knowledge in the craft to like, just to do more other than just kind of like learning as they go.
Yeah.
And that might be the case, and that might be the thing that turns them into a hit, an album or two down the road, just kind of going at it and just taking it in stride. But I don't know. There's just not much out there. There's not much in terms of credibility or anything.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Anything else to say?
Yeah, no, not really.
Not really. It's an artist to pay attention to, but their first work, they definitely could have put more into it, and it's good, but it's not memorable.
Favorite probably Girls on the Bed or From My Tiny Room. Those are alright. Least favorite probably something like Golden Eyes or Yasuk.
My favorite, I'll probably say, is Iowa. My least favorite, I don't know, Golden Eyes, I guess.
I'm gonna use a word I haven't used in a while. Blender.
Yeah.
Now, actually, one other thing I do want to say: this is better than Vision 3D.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Doomsayer has redeemed himself a little bit.
Not that Vision 3D was bad either, but
yeah,
this is at least a little bit more interesting, even though we just said it was very shallow.
Yeah.
Which means last album is Porridge Radio.
This album fucks.
This is 100% needs to be on some indie movie.
Yeah.
Specifically back to the radio, because like I can literally just imagine an indie movie starting off with someone just walking down the street, earphones in with that song playing.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, it's not the only song I ever thought that for, but it's just like it's really good for that. It's I don't know. It's this album isn't perfect by any means or anything like that. It's got its issues, and Porridge Radio still got a bit to go. But this is a fun album.
Yeah, it's kind of like a modern take on a goth sound.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I got like some like old school Cure and the Smiths vibe off of it.
I was also very, very cool on this record. There was some fun stuff here, but like nothing that was super impressive to me or like amazing. Like there was some fun songs. I do genuinely like I Hope She's Okay Too. That song I really, really like. But a lot of it was like fine. Like I think there was some fun moments. Like Rotten had some fun stuff in it. Jealousy had some fun stuff in it. But I feel like in a week like this would be like the 2 or 3 in a really, really good week.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Look, I have a feeling the album that I'm picking next week's going to absolutely chomp this out of the water, but
probably.
But in a case like this, I mean, this album stands up. I definitely enjoyed this a lot more than Every Bad. I think there was a lot more moments on here that actually allowed itself to breathe and stand out. Like Back to the Radio just kind of builds up in a kind of repeating chorus at the end, but it's like only at the end, and it's just a good outro there because it kind of just builds up to be a bit more emotional and starting to kind of feel like a breakdown starting to happen, but just doesn't quite happen, which is pretty good. Jealousy, obviously, I think is another one of the highlights on there. Just the music flows really well, the instrumentation with the vocals that's happening in there, and there's quite a bit of not only emotion, but kind of just interesting sounds that's happening. Even other songs which, like, may not be so big into, like Birthday Party, I think is a bit like... It's one of the more kind of, like, average songs on here, but I feel like even when it's average, instrumentation is at least, like, for what is a pretty slacker-style indie rock album, it's actually pretty... you can say your bad things. We ripped on Motionless and White.
My problem, I guess, is that I feel like the lyric pool is very shallow, or at least like the way they do their songs.
I don't disagree.
Like they have a thing they do.
This is definitely an album you don't listen to the lyrics.
They have a thing they do, and it's that they chant a certain phrase or a certain statement and make it like a chorus or something, and they do it a few times. You know, I can't even think of an example. Like I hope you do too, or something like that. They'll just keep saying it over and over and over and over. They do it on like 4 or 5 of these songs.
That definitely is a fair enough complaint to have with it, and I actually do agree on it. There are definitely a lot of song structures that are very similar that they have in this album, which it does make it kind of feel like some of it is not so memorable as the other moments on here. So that is something I agree with. I mean, I was literally saying is Back to the Radio, they had the repeating chorus at the end of it, so that's kind of like the same thing that they're kind of going on. I mean, it's kind of just something that they just do, I guess. I mean, it's been prevalent in some of the other albums as well. It's probably just their signature, I'm doing in quotation mark style. I think there's still... one thing I do want to point out, because I only just watched them today, for a band that's pretty, like, underground, apparently, they actually have quite a good music video budget.
Yeah, there was some articles that had come out around the time I think this came out, talking about how their moment was supposed to be when COVID happened.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like their moment to shine and be the big band, and then they weren't. So they have a fair amount, I think, of investment of people behind them. But, you know, Every Bad was a March 2020 album.
Yeah.
And so things just kind of changed, and they're kind of picking up the pieces here a little bit. Which is fine. I mean, not fine for them necessarily, but like, I guess if I had to say something that kind of stuck out to me, I do think the singer Dana would be an interesting replacement if they were still recasting Isaac Wood.
I can somewhat see what you mean, because she actually has quite a unique vocal style, which I think actually helps this album stand out as well from a lot of other. I
will say we don't know Dana's pronouns exactly.
Yeah, that is fair. Sorry. Yeah, their vocals are quite like dramatic in a way. If you kind of get what I'm going at, it's not like cinematic, in kind of way that I feel like
It's a
Isaac
Morrissey type of way.
lyrics. Yeah, it's Morrissey without the Morrissey.
It's histrionic.
As I said, it's a modern version, modern take on like the Smiths or the Cure.
I suppose so. I don't think the tone of the music is necessarily there. Like in ways
I
it
felt
is.
it more with like the bass. With like that kind of goth music, there's like a very specific sound to the bass, and I felt like they captured it.
I don't know if I necessarily see that, but I don't know. You two can talk more about it. I really just don't know what else to say.
That is fair.
I just enjoyed this album. I'm gonna be honest.
It's a fair take. I mean, most of my talking points is that this is just a very kind of like enjoyable. Yeah, it's kind of background music at times. I mean, the first time I listened to this, I was literally traveling on public transport for like an hour or so. I had to put something on to listen to, and this was on. And I mean, there were only a couple standout moments on first listen, like Jealousy, which I know that's one of the more repetitive songs on here lyrically, but I think it's a fun song, I guess is the best way to put it. Or I don't know, it definitely tries,
despite being that thing.
Yeah, it definitely tries to sound a lot more emotional as well, which I'm not quite sure how well that actually pulls off, because I'm not listening to it and having this kind of, oh god, I can't believe who hurt you kind of moment to it. But
like Waterslide, the title track doesn't sound necessarily sad. It just sounds a bit more depressed.
Yeah, I mean, one of the only memorable moments of Every Bad was a song called Circling, and that whole lyrics was I'm feeling great, I'm feeling fine, in this very kind of like, sarcastic tone. So that definitely is something that I think Porridge Radio just kind of like really, the kind of word I'm trying, focuses on, I guess is the best way I can say it. And there are definitely a lot of moments that sound like their previous album on here, but I feel like they're just doing it better on this one. And I'm not going to put out and say like, oh, by the end of this year, we're all going to be a fucking Porridge Radio stand. That I think
I challenge you to try.
I might end up being one.
I challenge you to try it.
For us to become Porridge Radio stands.
Yes.
This is the first album of them that I've actually gotten into.
Well,
I am taking that challenge.
We have 5 others.
Granted, I've actually only ever listened to Every Bad before this, but yeah.
I will try my best to become a Porridge Radio stand, because I really liked this.
Yeah, I'm actually not surprised that you like this, because instrumentally as well, or like kind of like the sounds that they go for, there is definitely some Fourth Wonderers vibes that I actually go for this album.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. More of like kind of like towards a sloppy sound, but it's not quite there. It's not quite as like heavy as they get because like for a DIY album, this is actually pretty well.
Yeah.
This
you can say.
I'm just comparing this to the last time we had this happen. Almost, we had different results, but this reminds me a lot of the Years and Years episode.
I'm trying to remember what we did on that one. What was Osa on that one?
Shovels and Rope and Moving Stills.
Ah, yeah. Oh, this is better than Moving Stills by a long shot.
Oh, this is better than anything we covered that week, if you ask me.
I guess this is better than Moving Stills. I guess this is better than Manticore, though the song Domino Domino versus I Hope She's Okay Too. I guess those can fight in my mind a little bit. I guess this is better than those two.
I mean, I haven't actually even gone back to the Moving Stills album since that episode. Except I think I've listened to You and Me a couple times, and that's about it.
I still say Night Call is a banger, but hey, yeah. Anything else? You two talk. I don't know.
I'm kind of like already got everything I need to say.
I just enjoyed the album. That's all I'll say.
All right.
It's a number one by default for me, but it's a hell of a default.
Yeah.
My favorite song is I Hope She's Okay Too. I also will just give points to Dash. Like, I'm just calling it Dash because it's the first track and it has a dash.
Actually, on the CD that Dash doesn't exist. It's a part of Back to the Video, and same with the music video. So that's just an interesting point I want to point out there.
That's cool. I kind of like that, and I also like the outlandishness of the title also being the title track. That's kind of fun. My least favorite song is probably Birthday Party, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with the least favorite on there. Favorite is it's between Jealousy and Back to the Radio. Those ones are just like highlights and will be on my playlist for quite a lot of this year. It's hard to explain, but I just really love like how the outro just starts to go with Back to the Radio. It's just very kind of like it casually kind of strolls there, but it's just very like lovely to listen to.
That's fair.
Yeah. Favorites for me, Back to the Radio. You could be happy if you want to, and I hope she's okay too. And I really don't have a least favorite.
All right. I guess I'll rank it first, just so y'all can just understand where I'm at right now.
Yeah, it's fair. Okay. Just do the most honest ranking that you can, and we'll
I
fight
think Ritz
you later.
and I are going to have the same rating.
I think so too.
Oh yeah.
Number 3 for me, I'm just gonna put as Porridge Radio. Number 2, I'm gonna put as Motionless and White, and number 1's Precocious Neophyte.
Damn.
Trix, you want to say yours?
Yeah. Number 3, Motionless and White. Number 2, Precocious Neophyte, and number 1, Porridge Radio.
Yeah, I've got this completely different one where it's the exact same.
So now let's get into our plans for next week. I'm going to start this off because I have a bit of a story to tell.
Yeah.
So, first of all, Domino and I started this project called the Ritz Gaslighting Project.
Yeah.
Just for this week, and that's because I was initially going to be doing Death from Above 1979's album Outrages Now. But I sent an album to Domino that my buddy Jeremy sent me, and I'm like, I might do this album coming up soon. It's a hyperpop album, but like I think you might be too old for it because it's more aimed at like people my age and Ritz's age.
And that can't just stand.
Yeah, and I offended Domino with that, and he's like, "We're doing it." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And so that turned into the Ritz Gaslighting Project, where I would convince you that I'm going to be doing Death from Above 1979 right now. But in fact, the album I'm going to be doing next week is a hyperpop album by a collective of people called Classic Project 2000 Deluxe Edition by Team Meccano.
What the fuck is that? Classic Project 2000. Oh, I already found it.
The Deluxe Edition is on Bandcamp.
Deluxe Edition is on Spotify.
Oh, good. Yeah, yes, it is. That's right. I remember now. Yeah, it looks deep fried. It looks interesting. I've listened to it now. I'm ready to talk about it next week.
They got a 2022 album as well.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Anyway, Dominic, you're
I also lied. I also know I've known what I was gonna pick for a long time. It is episode 103, which means we can now safely do an artist we covered 101 episodes ago. We are going back to Devin Townsend. We are picking the Strapping Young Lad album, City.
Is that from Devin Townsend or Devin Townsend Project?
It's from Strapping Young Lad, Devin Townsend's 90s band.
I was going to do something big and then, kind of like put up a big reveal, but I'll just do that later because I actually started listening to an album the past week that I've been listening to more than I've been listening to this album this week, or the past 2 weeks. And with the whole Roe versus Wade overturning that just happened over here, it's probably the best time to actually, and I say over here, I mean like over there, because over here we've still got the rights get fucked.
Yeah.
But it's probably the best time to do this album, so we're going to do it. We're doing Petrol Girl's Baby.
All right.
Which is another 2022 album.
Fair enough. I will say, for the record, Ritz, I do remember you talking about when I said Devin Townsend was metal, you expected hardcore extreme metal, and you got something different, right?
I can't even remember. It's been 101 episodes.
That's fair.
It's been nearly how many years now? 2. Yeah.
But Strapping Young Lad is the extreme hardcore metal you're looking for.
Yeah.
This is going to be an episode of Headache, if nothing else.
Hell yeah.
That's I already picked an album that I know I'm gonna love. Don't even give a shit what you two fucking say about it. I'm just giving it number 1, and we don't even have to do an episode next week. It's all good.
Project Meccano might surprise you.
Yeah.
It might. We'll see how it all goes.
You might like extreme hardcore metal. Who knows?
Look, I do like extreme hardcore, but that's not music.
Anyway, that's going to be it for Dissonant Waves. My name is Dominic. You can catch me online on Twitter at DACICHOCKI. I have a YouTube where I have my short film Beat if you want to check that out. I am in Lost and Cult Volume 3. It's a UK-based video game magazine writing about horror video games. If you ever want to track that down and read that, I like my article in there quite a bit.
I have been Ritalin. Nothing will make me feel better than knowing how silent I just made Dominic and Tricks with that joke. You can catch me on my website, ritalinforkids.github.io. I also have a YouTube channel that's linked in the description below.
I have been Tricks. You can catch me on Twitter at procrastinaut_. That's like procrastinating astronaut. And then an underscore at the end of it. I have a YouTube channel where I'm working on some dumb video projects. Yeah.
You can catch us all online at
Catch us all-
dissonantwaves.space and Dissonant Waves on Twitter and Dissonant Waves on YouTube. That's it, everybody. Have a good night.